Episode 7 of Andor is here, and even though it's a short episode, there are plenty of things to uncover, so let's get straight into it. We begin with Syril eating cereal again and wearing a brown suit, which his mother is particularly picky about. And his mother goes on to talk about how there's no room for individuality, and so Syril wearing the brown suit might just suggest that he really isn't trying to get the job. Syril then learns about the attack on Aldhani, which really goes to show how widespread the news is regarding the rebel attack, really just emphasizing about how embarrassed the Empire must be and how impactful the attack has been in attacking the image of the Empire, something which is continuously explored throughout the episode. We are then introduced to a very familiar character, and it's none other than Admiral Yularen. Wullf Yularen was previously an admiral under the Republic Navy and previously served extensively under the leadership of Anakin Skywalker. Throughout the Clone Wars, Yularen was a very capable leader, oftentimes coming to aid of Anakin and Ahsoka. He did, however, disapprove of the recklessness of the Jedi. But by the time of the show Andor, Yularen had transitioned away from his role as a Navy commander to a colonel of the ISB, directly serving under the director of the organization. Yularen then goes on to talk about the Public Order Resentencing Directive, an act designed to empower the ISB and curb the civil liberties of imperial citizens. It really is just a legislative example of the tightening grip of the Empire, and this whole scene is fantastic simply because it sets the tone of how serious the Empire is taking or responding to the attack on Aldhani. Mon Mothma makes a surprise visit to Luthen and challenges him on the Aldhani attack, revealing to us that she really just knows very little about what is actually going on. And while Luthen is willing to do whatever necessary to start the rebellion, Mon Mothma still thinks about the impact it has on innocent people. Really just goes to show how she will eventually become the moral compass the rebellion needs moving forward. Syril arrives at the Bureau of Standards for his interview, which is really just the department of ensuring the general commercial rules are followed. But judging by the way the interview is unfolding, Syril is getting the job no matter what, courtesy of Uncle Harlo. We cut to Kleya walking through Coruscant, and we get to see some security guards dressed like rebels, characterized by the egg-like helmet. We also get our first look at stormtroopers, signaling to us that we are getting deeper into the rebel plot and that the stakes have definitely been raised. Kleya walks past a hologram which translates to tasty Peezos. Not entirely sure what this means, but Peezos is apparently a real-life pizza chain, so perhaps the writers of the show really just love pizzas from there. Back at the ISB headquarters, Dedra catches an attendant asleep. This is attendant Felzonis, and on first sight the character doesn't seem like much, but if the leaks are to be believed, there is much more to this character than meets the eye. I won't go into what the leaks are about as it might be spoilers for future episodes, but definitely pay close attention to this one. We go back to Aldhani where Cinta is trying to make her escape when a Star Destroyer flies in, which just goes to show how the Empire is stepping up its presence on the planet. Kleya meets Vel, and Vel asks if there's any news on Cinta, and we are told that Cinta has other priorities and missions to attend to, and the whole conversation makes this side of the rebellion feel incredibly cold, and that it really doesn't care about its own people, which really begs the question if the rebellion is that different from the Empire. Vel is then tasked to assassinate Cassian, which sets up a conflict for the future episode, and also means that the show has taken a rather unexpected turn. I for one simply expected the rebellion would try to recruit Cassian again, and that would be that, so interested to see where this goes. Cassian returns to Ferric to visit Marva and asks her to leave with her, but she is somewhat reluctant to go. Mon Mothma throws a party to raise money for her foundation, and we find a few ISB agents in attendance, probably there to just keep an eye on her. We then get to meet Tay Kolma, who is apparently a childhood friend, and we then learn that Mon Mothma is being labeled as a separatist sympathizer, and that the Grand Vizier has infiltrated the separatist coalition meetings. The Separatist Coalition is basically a group of planets previously supporting the Separatist movement during the Clone Wars, and now that the Empire has won the war, these are planets likely most exploited by the current regime. You can really just imagine the treatment of these planets once the Clone Wars was over, especially by politicians in the Senate wishing to exploit the situation. And Mon Mothma being a Separatist sympathizer, or at least trying to breach the gap, is not exactly new and has been trying to do so since the Clone Wars first began. We are then told that Perrin is not to be trusted, which really just casts doubts about who he is and why he shouldn't be trusted. something which I am sure the show will get into at a later date, and it's something that I have a theory on if you'd like to check it out. Cassian pays Biggs a visit, who then reveals the impact Cassian's actions have had on the local people. The two part ways on bad terms, but before leaving, Cassian gives Biggs the credits for everyone he owed money to, and among the names mentioned we have Nurchi, who was the guy that Cassian ran into in an earlier episode, and Brasso, Cassian's reliable friend who sabotaged the Priok's ship. Morva reveals why she doesn't want to leave by stating that she wants to start a rebellion inspired by the events on Aldhani, which is a great moment as it reveals how Cassian's actions had inadvertently inspired others to rise up against the Empire. We get a brief but brutal flashback to Clem being hanged, and further scenes to a young Cassian attacking some clone troopers, likely why he was thrown into jail in the first place. Back at the ISB headquarters, we get some reporting and the planet Ord Mantell is mentioned. Ord Mantell was a planet located in the Mid-Rim and was a planet known to harbor many criminals of the galaxy, something which the report by Superintendent Young attempted to explain what made this possible, something about patrol units. Ord Mantell is also the planet previously visited by the Bad Batch while attempting to rescue a baby Rancor from some Zygerian slavers. We then get into some thick ISB politics when Belvin accuses Miro of violating protocol, assessing reports outside her jurisdiction, which suggests that attendant Felzonis likely ratted her out. However, the confrontation doesn't go as Belvin expects and Miro ends up winning, given the responsibility of overseeing Morlana, which is probably how she'll get to know about Syril's involvement further down the line, which in turn would lead her to Cassian, making it a two-way race between the rebels and the ISB to see who can get to him first. Partagaz tells Dedra to watch her back, letting us know that the imperial politics are about to get dirty. Cassian then goes on holiday on a planet named Naimos, which seems to be some sort of holiday planet. Cassian is told by this girl to get some Peezos, which we saw earlier in the episode when Kleya walked through Coruscant, and some Revnok, which is a sort of alcoholic drink first mentioned between Cassian and Brasso. The girl then calls Cassian Keith, which is his assumed alias on this planet. Cassian later gets shaken down by a shore trooper who suspects him of being involved with the runners from earlier, and we then get to see a KX droid, the same droid model as K2SO. The droid tries to hang Cassian after some non-specific instructions from this trooper, and this whole scene will likely strike a nerve with Cassian as his father was also hanged, which is a subtle way of saying that even if Cassian chooses to stay away from the rebellion, he will never be safe from the Empire. Cassian then gets thrown into court and the guy before him has his charges read out. We learn that among the charges the guy is being prosecuted for, one of them is for walking an unleashed massive. Massives are the dog-like creatures we saw in the book of Boba Fett, so these are some really vicious creatures, especially to be walking without a leash. We then see the judge print out the sentencing, which is basically a stamp, and on the stamp it reads name Richard Stevenson, crime failure to follow Imperial command, anti-Imperial vandalism, and sentence 5 years. And what's crazy about this is that the crimes written down don't even match what the charges being read out were, so it really just gives us an insight to how corrupt the judicial system is, and that they are processing people so casually that they just use stamps to document the sentencing. Cassian is then sentenced to 6 years as the Empire has increased the punishment for anti-Imperial activity. We then get to see the official sentencing, and boy is this one crazy. So what is written here completely doesn't match with what Cassian is being charged with. The name shown is Keith Seymour, which is completely wrong as Cassian's alias here is Keith Gergo. The crime that Cassian is charged with is suspected force sensitivity and assaulting an Imperial officer. Which is crazy if you think about it, as it basically means that the judge can put just whatever she wants, no questions asked. On top of that, Cassian isn't just sentenced to 6 years, but to 25 years, likely leading to the prison break scene shown in the trailer later. So does this confirm that Cassian is force sensitive? Likely not, as it's probably just a cool Easter egg and just a way to show you that the Empire really doesn't care about true justice. In the closing shot, we see Syril stuck at his desk job, likely unhappy about the situation he is in, and we will likely see some changes in the next episode. So that was the breakdown for episode 7 of Andor. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. I am the Lost Acolyte,
and I have spoken.